I had to go through a process of releasing myself, my reputation, my ministry, everything into his hands, and trust him that he wasn't going to allow all of this to fall down, because I had followed him and his instruction in it. But one of the reassurances he gave me, and it wasn't just about this situation, it was an overarching picture that applied to any of the situations I've been in my life where I've been falsely accused, or where my faith has been looked at skeptically, or because I have situations in my career also where people criticize me or make assumptions about me because of my faith. They associate me with things that I don't do or say, but because they've had experiences, they just lump me in with people or organizations that they've had contact with. And again, it's very difficult. I hate being in a situation where I feel like I'm being misjudged. But one reassurance God gave me was, whether they learn the truth here and now on this earth or not, there will be people who go to their graves believing that I have malicious intent in something, in some area, or that my faith makes me a bigot or whatever. They will think things about me that are untrue, and they will think that until their dying day. One of the reassurances God gave me in that, one of the truths of this particular verse, is that part of his process, and it's not just for me, it's for you and for everybody else who knows God, part of his process in facing people on their last day, in bringing them into judgment, if they have not found his truth, if they have not leaned on Christ and accepted his sacrifice, they will be made to understand everything they got wrong. Every false accusation, every deception, every false belief, every sinful intention or act, everything. He will not let anything slide. And so, in defense of me, in defense of you, in defense of other people that we've seen who've been harmed for their faith, anyone who has harmed a believer will be made to understand and made to acknowledge Christ. Every knee will bow, right? Every tongue confess. They will not just acknowledge Christ. God will let them know. When your heart is good, when your intention is pure and real, and people are misjudging that, God himself will fight for you. He will stand there in judgment and make anyone who harmed you understand what they did, how wrong it was, and they will acknowledge that. They will not leave that place with any misunderstanding, deception, or false belief in place. And even though sometimes it can be hard to think, well, I've got to wait for eternity for that to happen, in some ways it's actually really perfect. This is the other thing he's shown me. Sometimes we don't even know that somebody has either bad intention or false belief about us, or is accusing us behind our back of something that we haven't done. Because sometimes God waits until the end to bring someone to account, he makes sure that they account for everything. Not just the things we know, or not just the things we understand, everything. So we can, when he says, revenge is mine, he means it. Like, he stands in defense of us, which I find mind-boggling, frankly. So I just want to encourage you. It's hard. It's hard when people are accusing you of things that aren't true. And the more and more our faith is seen as a sin, seen as wrong by this world, the more false accusations and the more misunderstandings and deceptions there's going to be pointed at us. But he has shown me in very tangible ways this year, we can rely on him not to let that stuff slide. In most cases, people will be made to understand the truth in this world. But even when they aren't, he will make sure they understand the truth before they are forced out of his presence. And realizing that there are people who won't listen to anything that I'm sharing with them that's true about God. And realizing that that means those people will be eternally separated from him. It made it easier to let it go and say, you know what? If they can't see the truth, if they can't hear the truth, and they're pointing that at me, they are going to pay a much, much bigger price for that than I am. Even if they destroyed my ministry here, or even if they just hurt me or whatever, the price that they're going to pay for not understanding, not repenting, not listening to God is so much bigger than any price I pay. And then lastly, remember, even Christ was falsely accused. Worse than falsely accused. He was accused of being the opposite of what he is. He was accused of being a servant of Satan. That just grieves my heart. And it makes me realize God doesn't ask me to walk through anything in this world that he hasn't already experienced and walked through himself. There's nothing going on here that Christ did not experience at the hands of other people. So when he asks me to be willing to trust him, to walk through that, to let it go and let him handle it, not try to fix it myself, that's easier to do, not easy, but easier to do when I remember Christ did it and he deserved way better than I do. So I hope that that gives you some encouragement if you're facing a situation like this, or as you move forward and we reach end days. I hope that you can find comfort in this verse and be confident that God will stand in defense of you and make sure people know when you are innocent of the charges. I'll see you next time.